Okie doke. Well, yeah, welcome everybody to our webinar, to the Disability Hub MN webinar on MyVault with the lovely Marcy LaCroix here. Marcy is an expert in her field. She's one of our community capacity builders with Disability Hub MN, and I'm really excited to have her here to teach us a little bit more about MyVault and get a little bit deeper into these amazing tools, that helps the individuals and professionals, and you can, save planning activities and store and share documents. And there's a ton of other things that Marcy will talk about today. Just a couple things to keep in mind. Please keep yourself on mute. You're welcome to ask questions through the chat, or towards the end, we might have some time for some questions. Otherwise, of course, you can reach out to us on Facebook and things like that if you have additional questions in the future, or give the hub a call. And yeah, and let's see, that's good for now. And oh yeah, one thing I'll say, I'll put this in the chat, but just please, if you do have questions or things like that, please refrain from sharing any personal information. And so, all right, thank you. And Marcy, go ahead. You can go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Taviso. I'm so excited to be able to share MyVault with you all today, especially because starting tomorrow, we have additions to the vault, and I'll share a little bit about that as we get to the end. But we're going to start today with just really talking about what the vault is, how to create a vault, what sort of activities are available to you as individuals and as professionals, as students, how you might utilize this in your support of people within the disability community, and how you might use it in collaboration with the hub. So there's so much diversity in how we might use the vault, and we're going to go through some of that today. I would encourage you, please, to ask questions, unmute yourself, drop them in the chat to be so. And a couple other hub staff are with us today to help answer those questions, or to stop me from talking so I can answer those questions. And I'm going to demonstrate a lot of what I'm talking about today. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. And one moment while I do that. And I make a couple of adjustments so that I can see who all is with us today. And again, thank you for joining us. For those that are just joining, there's a couple of people just joining us. And we're going to do an overview of the MyVault. And the first thing I want to share about the vault is that it is a single sign-on for 3 websites, meaning that with one username, which is an email, and a password associated with that account, you have Vault access and Vault activities across the Disability Hub MN website, which is what you should be seeing on your screen right now. And there is the Disability Hub MN logo in the upper left-hand corner, which are the building bricks of a person's best life, and a scrolling banner with some information, which I'm going to actually stop, because I want to point out, first of all, that you can stop that when you're on the website if that is something that is a sensory issue or simply distracting. But if you want to continue to see what's on there, you can manually scroll with these arrows on the right-hand side of the screen. If you're not quite familiar with who and what we are at the Hub, there's a very short video in this teal colored banner, linked and entitled About the Hub. So that is just one of the places that you're going to find Vault activities. The other places are on DB 101 or Disability Benefits 101, which are linked across the top of the Hub page, and HB 101, which is Housing Benefits 101. And each of these Vault accesses uses that same sign-on, that same email and password, and you can access everything with that, whether you log in on DB101 or log in on HB101 or on the Hub website, you're going to be able to access all of your Vault activities in one way or another. So first things first, we kind of have introduced where to find the vault, but what exactly is the vault and how do I get one? The vault is a secure, meaning that it's encrypted, private way for you to explore information on benefits that you might receive or that someone you support or someone that you love might be receiving, to share that information with others who are on that support team, to organize information. So you or someone you support, I'm sure you're well aware of the inundation of mail that comes in and associated with Social Security or with medical assistance or county benefits. And this is a way that you can scan or take a picture of them and organize them and have them in one place that's secure so that you don't have to have piles and piles of paperwork. You can encourage organization. And then let's say if I were working with Tabiso at the hub, and Tabiso and I were talking about my Social Security benefits, and we needed to verify something through, say, my award letter, I could securely share that vault to vault with Tabiso so that he could see what was on my award letter to support me in my ongoing benefits planning. This is a great tool for students. Young people, as they graduate from high school, lose access to their school email accounts, which is incredibly unfortunate because sometimes those students have worked really hard on things like resumes and cover letters. Maybe that's where additional information about IEP or ongoing support through disability services for post-secondary education have been shared. And when that school email is closed, they lose all that. The vault is an excellent alternative to use even while in school. And in fact, we encourage young people and families and school districts to use the vault within that young adult transition from high school to adulthood period of time as a means of organization. So back to that question of how do I get one? Assuming everyone can still see my screen, in the upper right-hand corner, there is this sign into my vault button. And we can click on that. And here's the email and here's the password. This is where you would enter that information to log into your vault. However, if you don't have that vault account yet, new to my vault, right underneath that on the left-hand side, create an account. And what's going to come up here is the email that you want to use. Please note that most information is shared vault to vault or is communicated within the vault. So it's not necessary for someone to have consistent access to their email, or someone doesn't use their email or like to use their email for any reason. That's perfectly fine. The email is just what has been chosen to be used as a username versus coming up with some other username. And full transparency, us hub staff work from home. I have 2 large dogs, one of whom is attempting to notify me of something, and I don't know what that is yet. So I apologize for any barking that might go on in the next few minutes. And there it is. It could be something as simple as a squirrel, and let's hope that squirrel goes away. So once we get that username in there, then we need that password. Of course, you want to follow best practices with creating a password, making sure that it's unique, making sure that it has a number of characters and uses capital letters and numbers, those sorts of things, so that only you know it. What I want to be sure that people understand about the password, to protect your information, we at the hub, our developers, and the people that support the vault and the websites associated with the vault do not have the means to retrieve your password. So you will want to make sure that you have some way of remembering it or saving it that is still protecting your privacy. Because if you lose that and can't access that account, it would be necessary for you to create an account, a new account. We recognize this as a potential pitfall of utilization of the vault. However, we want to do everything that we can do to make sure that none of our staff or that breaching of information happens on our end. And that is one of the ways that we have determined with collaboration and partnership with the Department of Human Services and other agencies that are supporting the vault and the associated websites, that we can do that. Then there is this final space here after you enter your username as your email, or your email as your username, your password, you confirm that password, then your organization. It defaults to none of these. The default of none of these is referring to, I'm creating this as an individual. So I'm a student using this, I'm an adult with a disability, I'm using this as a person. And we've received some feedback that maybe it's not best to have none of these, but what we're referring to is that by saying none of these, you're not an organization, you're an individual. So when we click on it, we get this drop-down menu of what organization are you associated with. All of our hub staff, when they begin training, create an account. So that's why there's hub staff here. Maybe you're with Vocational Rehabilitation Services or DEED, like Shelley is. Maybe you're school staff, managed care, a tribal government, or another provider agency. This is a means for us to know how we might support you in using the hub or the vault, excuse me, and what potential professional roles we can assign for you, so that you may be able to, depending on your role, request information on behalf of a person. If you are an employment professional, a placement provider with vocational rehabilitation, a job coach, something like that, or a waiver case manager, you can then indicate with this box, checking this box, that you are one of those providing services within one of those roles, so that you can get ProVault tools. If you're watching this or you're watching the recording and you still forget what that means, there's this question mark in here, which you will see throughout other vault activities to help give you information about what that is. Okay, and you can see that it's like, no, Marcy, you didn't put this information in here. And so it will prompt you in red what information, and continue. So hopefully that's fairly user-friendly and much like other account creations that you've experienced. And once you've done that, then you will be able to sign into your vault. So now I can sign into my vault, and I'm actually going to use our demo vault. Oh my gosh, the dogs are just not happy with whatever is happening outside. And I'm signing in. They really feel the need to share their perspective on the vault. We're just going to say that they are extremely excited with what they're seeing and hearing today, especially the new pieces that are going to come out very soon. I'm going to mute for just one moment. All right, hopefully we can resume without further barking, but no promises. All right, so you can see I have logged into the vault. And how do we know this? Because here's the email that I chose to use for logging in. Note that it doesn't launch the vault immediately. I need to actually click into my vault. And when I click into my vault, I then get a welcome to my vault. And I see 4 tiles here with the options of where I might be able to go. Planning paths, and these are the activities associated with the vault. These might be completing a person-centered trajectory. What's the path I want to take with my work or with my life? They might include a budget related to my housing options, or a one-page profile that I might share with those who support me so they understand how best to communicate with me. And we'll look at some of these within the time that we have remaining. Estimator sessions. If you've completed an estimator session as part of benefits planning, that's the tile to explore those saved sessions. Files. These are files that I have shared or I have received with people within the vault to vault activities. And contacts, just like any other contact in your phone where there's an email, there's a phone number. We expanded a little bit so that you might make note of what a person's role is and what you might contact that person with, because we know that so many people receiving benefits and services have a number of people on their support team, and it's not always easy to keep track of who that person is and what their role is and when you should contact them. And sometimes you have changes. Case management might change as there's staff turnover within agencies, that sort of thing. So let's look at planning paths. This upper left-hand tile. We're going to go in here. It's just going to take a second because we're sharing screens to load up. And here you can see those things, those paths, files, contacts. We have an additional tab here of shares. And these shares show the date, what I shared with someone from my vault, and who I shared it with. This is kind of like that, the checks in the mail, and it's this contact list of who did I send that check to. And it's a way of just making sure that the vault is doing what you expected it to do. And you can see that that when I hover over them, they change to a goldenrod or an orangish color. So I can sort, I can click and sort on them differently. And now you see these dates now go from oldest to newest, or I can share on what, or click on what rather, so that it categorizes them alphabetically. Let's go back to this path. So at the very top here, you see a picture of a diverse group of people with this chart, this flow chart of number 1, 2, 3, 4 with planning. And these are related to work. How can I plan for work? And you see check marks in these little bubbles here. That means these activities have been completed. Because we use this as our demonstration vault, we've completed these a number of times. Please note that one of the amazing things about these vault activities is that even though I've completed them, they're never meant to be static or stagnant. They're always meant to move and grow with the person. So there's the means to go in here and revisit and redo or change answers as the person chooses for all of these activities. As I continue to scroll down, this is the benefits planning path, and it has a picture of a person holding a paycheck with some identification cards and a notebook on there with quite a few more circles under there that identify the specific activities in there. A number of these has been completed. One of them has the ellipses in there with the 3 dots. That means it's been started, but not completed. And as we go through here, you're going to see these they're orange are labeled housing paths. How do I get started? Does the money add up? And they're broken. So all of these paths are broken up into 3 sections. The first section that I showed you right when we logged in, I apologize for the scrolling, those work paths, these are activities that are specific to the Hub website. These benefit planning paths are specific to the DB 101 vault activities, and the housing paths are specific to HB 101. When you access your vault, even though you can use that same username, that email, and that password to access on all 3 websites, when you access through the Hub website, you'll be able to see all of them like this. Whereas if we were to log in on DB 101 as an example, we would only see these benefits planning paths. We would still be able to go back and not have to log in again to go to HB 101 or DB 101, but or excuse me, the Hub website. But on the Hub website is the only place that you will see all of these paths. And I mentioned at the beginning that there's some exciting things happening. There's a new Vault activity release, which we expect to happen tomorrow. So today, create your Vault account. Tomorrow, come back and look at a new path that you're going to find right next to this work path called My Best Life. And the My Best Life path will be there to support someone who is either not ready for work, perhaps they're too young, because you could certainly use these Vault activities for any age. Maybe they're retirement age and they don't want to work anymore. Maybe their disability is at a place where work isn't an option, but we still want to explore how to support very positively a person to live their best life their way. So I encourage you to come back tomorrow and explore that best life path and the activities that will be in there. I'm quite excited about them, and hope that someday soon we can do another webinar such as this to explore those activities. And let's just do some of that right now. Let's explore some of these activities. Let's start with the work path. So when I click on here, I can always click on these individually, but they are really small and they're hard to see. So if you click on the picture, it then opens up a list. My profile, work, my vision, work, my resources and supports for work, build my team for work. And these are all individual activities intended complete these activities. I can then share them as a bundle or print them out as a bundle. I could even add an attachment. As I scroll down here further, and there's a list of all of these activities, I could edit to add. So maybe I wanted to add my IEP in this before I shared it or before I printed it out so that it could all be printed together. I could attach that IEP to this piece. Let's take a look at a couple of these programs here, or rather these activities. Let's look at my profile for work. I'm going to click on that. It expands that just a little bit. And again, here's that check mark. This time it shows up green on here, indicating I've completed it in the past. So I could just view or download this as a PDF from here. I could share it from here, meaning that if I wanted to share it with To Be So or with Shelly, I could click on here and be able to share that. In fact, let's look at that. When I click on share, it brings up the title, My Profile Work, as a PDF. I can search for the contact person I want to share it with. I can share by team. Do I want to share this with everybody I've indicated is on my benefits planning team or everybody that's on my housing team? Or I can share it with a specific person or a couple of people that I choose. So maybe I'm going to share it with Joe, who is my ILS worker. I click Joe's name, scroll down a little further because I have quite a few contacts in here. I click next. And I can change this message. Currently it says, please look at this file. I could share with them, Joe, I've updated my work profile or whatever personal message I want to see, and I can click send. When I click send, it says they'll get a notification next time they log into their Vault, and I can just close this. That notification comes in, there's this little orange bell in the upper right-hand corner above the activities. And when Joe or when I receive something, a number 1 or a number 2, however many files I have received are going to come up here as in notifications. And if I were to click on that, it would say if I were Joe and I got that, the little bell had the 1 on there, I would get notification that Marcy has shared with me my profile work. And I can choose to accept it, to decide later, or to decline having it shared with me, because sometimes people share things accidentally. And so we want to make sure that we have the option to decline it if that's information that should not have been shared with you. That would be why you would use a decline. Okay, so let's look at the actual activity. So my profile work, here's the completed activity, because again, remember I've completed this, that check mark indicated I've completed this. And this is my name, my pronouns, picture, and this one is a need a test. What people like about me, what's important to me, and how best to support me. Well, it's not very often that what people like about me changes, so maybe that's perfectly fine. What's important to me and how best to support me could change for any number of reasons. How best to support me is going to change from when I'm in high school to when I start college, or when I start a new job, or if I start a family or get married. Those things are likely to change, as they do for anyone and everyone. So one of the things about these two, these person-centered activities, is that they are not just for people with disabilities. So consider that as you're exploring these. Let's say there are changes and I need to update that. I want to update that. So I can click on change my answers. It brings me back to the data entry. So if this were the first time I had done that and we had not seen that completed check mark on there, these would all be blank. They're not blank because they've been done. So my name, but maybe I got married. So my name now is Anita Married Test. And my photo, well, that's my favorite photo. So I'm going to leave that and I'm going to choose next. And we're on the what people like about me. If this is the first time you're completing this, many people, especially those of us in Minnesota, don't like bragging about ourselves, so that what people like and admire about me may be really difficult to answer and they don't know where to start. For every question that we pose, there's some prompts in here. What have you been told you do well? What do you do that you are proud of? What do people like and admire about you? What would, because this one is in relationship to work, what would make someone want to hire you? And we don't want to make these activities so overwhelming any more than they might already be. So we've given just a few spaces rather than just given this blank slate. And there's 80 characters in these 5 places. They can all be filled out, or maybe just a couple as somebody is just starting to get into this. Now, if you're a parent completing this with a young person, say you're completing this with your kindergartner, awesome, good for you. We encourage other parents to do that. That's amazing. This should be done with them, even though they're young, or perhaps you're working or supporting someone that doesn't use verbal communication or doesn't have a form of communication that's easily understood by others. Please still do it with them. You may be that person that knows them incredibly well, and we don't want to discount that. That's vital to that person. That's so important. But also make sure that this is never done just for someone, because we don't want to put entirely our biases, our thoughts of things, because there's a possibility we have things wrong. So we want to work collaboratively when we can, for people who do not have a form of communication that's always understood by others. And we want to make sure that we're age appropriately reflecting that as well. And these are good questions to ask people. Not many people with disabilities who are my age, I don't believe, have been asked, what do people like about you? What are you good at? Those are questions that don't often get asked. So we can go to the next part, and it takes us through, like you saw on the finished product, what's important to me. We click next again. It takes how best to support me, again, with some prompts to help that. As we've completed our changes, we're going to see those results. You can see that there's the option up here too It's very faint. So it's a grayed out PDF, a grayed out share triangle. And when it's grayed out like that, it just means it's processing. As soon as it's processed in the background, then we'll have the ability to share directly from here. This pencil, well, there it popped up into the blue. So now I could share it from here. This pencil is how I could edit it again if I wanted to. So there's some more activities in here. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through them all today. Please, please, especially tomorrow, come back, see that new path that launches, play with these, encourage them, even if you are a professional creating a Pro Vault where you might do activities for or on behalf of other people. Please consider completing activities for yourself so you have that experience and can see some of the power behind these person-centered things and how they might help support creating someone's best life their way. I'm going to go back to the paths. I'm in files right now because I'm creating those activity files, but I'm going to go back into paths because I want to look at the benefits planning path. And this is the focus here is on the numbers. This is a focus on I have these cash benefits or this sort of medical assistance. And if I work, what's the impact? That's a huge fear and huge concern for folks. And this is a way of helping people plan through that, work through that, to try and eliminate some of that fear and concern and create, build capacity, create some understanding. So you can see here that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 activities. And the most important one that I want to share in here, at least what I feel is most important, is this benefits lookup. Disability Hub and the Department of Human Services Disability Services Division, that's a mouthful, partner to provide this service. So it's hosted on DB 101, on HB 101 to get a benefits lookup. But this lookup comes directly from a small response team within Disability Services Division. So it's real people completing these for folks. But we want people to know that if you have benefits, you have the right to access those benefits and know what those benefits are. And if you support someone with benefits, you have benefits yourself, you know that it can be complicated to keep what benefits you have and why you have them and what those benefits are organized, and always know how those benefits are supporting you in your best life. So one of the ways that we want to build capacity and encourage that is by providing this tool so that you can look up your own benefits information. Here's a look at just what this means, a bit of an overview of what I just said. It's encrypted, of course. If someone is under the age of 18, a student is looking up their benefits, they will need parent or guardianship, okay, to do this. But if a person is 18 or older, even if they have a guardian, they have the right to this information and should have their own vault account to look this information up. So that's what this first piece says, this introduction. If I click next, this is the start of getting that benefits lookup information. My name, my first name, my last name, those are required. My birth date is also required. This next piece, your email address, is in there so that you can get a notification via email that it's been completed, but the actual benefits lookup, again, to protect your private information, will not be sent to your email, just a notification that it's been completed. I can then choose to check that I want to send a copy of my results to a counselor. So perhaps I'm working with an employment agency, vocational rehab. Maybe I want to share this with, I'm 18, but I want to share this with my parents. I can send a copy to their email. If they don't have a vault, there is a risk of sending information via email So we really encourage the vault to vault and doing it that way. Again, they're going to get a notification that they've received a copy of this. So first name and last name and birth date are two identifiers. In order to complete these lookups, we need three identifiers. And here's where those third ones are. The additional information. It could be a person's street address. Please know that with this selection, it must be the address that is on file with the county. So if someone has just moved but not reported their email address, that could be a student has moved to go to school, or that you've moved from the metro area to a rural area, something, whatever the reason for a move. If that address is not updated and does not reflect the exact address that is with the county, the benefit lookup will be denied. That's one way of protecting information. The other option is a county case number. All information received from the county in the upper right-hand corner, I believe, has that county case number. This is a great way to do that, to make sure that there's a good match, because it's a number associated with the county and their system. The other one is the Personal Master Index, or the PMI. This is the medical assistance number, the MA number. So the white card that says Minnesota Healthcare Programs card, there's I believe it's a 9-digit number on there. That's the PMI number. We only need one of these. Obviously, the addresses is the easiest most often, but if you don't get it back, or you get a denial that we can't complete your request, that may be why. And how to resolve that is to update your address with your county. If you're not sure about that, or if that doesn't make sense as to why it would be denied, please call or chat with us at the hub so we can support you in resolving that. So once you've entered those pieces of information, you can go to next. And here's that authorization to complete the request. So if I'm doing this for myself, I just click that I'm doing it myself. I use my finger, or I use my mouse to create a signature in here, and I hit submit. If someone is doing this as a professional in a pro vault on behalf of someone, they will need the release of information, the DHS release of information, which is linked in that introduction. It'll need to be completed and signed. There's also this piece that says authorized representative. Please know that if you are the guardian of a person looking up their information, that does not give you immediate access to information through this system. The reason being is that the systems that are used by the county can't just pull up the guardianship papers that you may have provided. They can only look at whether or not the authorized representative form has been completed and is in the system. So authorized representative isn't necessarily a guardian, and a guardian isn't necessarily an authorized representative. I could ask Shelly to be my authorized representative and say, yeah, Shelly's been helping me out to understand all this stuff. So we're just going to complete, it's a 1-page form. And only with that authorized representative form can I put this in here. If you indicate that you are the authorized representative and that form has not been completed with the county, your request will also be denied. We at the hub can get you the link to that form. We can send you that form. We can guide you through completion of that form and answer questions about that again. And then submit. And it takes approximately 2 business days to come back into your vault. And it gives you a list. Let's see if I have one in here. If I have a completed one. Unfortunately, I don't. So I'm going to have to remember to get that in there. But if you have medical assistance, it lists that. If you have SSI, it lists the amount of SSI or SSDI that you have. If you have a waiver, it lists that. It's usually a 2-page document that lists the benefits that you have. It does not list the benefits that you're eligible for or that you might be eligible for, unless you actually have them at that moment in time. This is a snapshot of the benefits that you have that day. And it's usually good for 30 days because the county works on that 30-day processing system. Any more requesting of benefits look up any more than every month probably isn't going to do you a lot of good. Not to say that you can't, but it's maybe not as effective of a use. Now, if you get a benefits lookup back and things don't seem right, that's where we at the hub can support you in understanding what's happening. If that doesn't make sense for you, maybe identifying what has gone wrong. Again, this is a team of human beings doing data entry, and sometimes they do make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And so we at the hub can help you verify or resolve if you see that there's a discrepancy between what you had understood and what you see on that benefits lookup. All right, so those are DB 101 activities. If we had logged into the vault on DB 101, that's what you would see. And for the sake of time, because we just have 1 minute left, I'm just going to point out that these housing paths are to explore housing. So for young people who are considering moving out of their parents' home, people who are currently living in a group home situation that want to explore moving into an apartment. Money is important. There's the housing budget. Whether or not I want to have a roommate when I'm leaving my home, or does the money require that I have a roommate? What sort of roommate would make a good roommate for me? Maybe someone who smokes is not a good option. I would welcome pets, or maybe I would welcome dogs, but I'm really not a cat person. There's an entire activity to explore all of that. And in fact, make it a roommate agreement. So something, again, not disability specific. I have children who are young adults, and I've encouraged them to explore this as they've moved into their own apartment. I am going to show you, I'm going to go into this. I get to decide how to get started because there's another 1-page profile. I showed you the what people like and admire about me in relationship to work. This one is a communication profile, just a little bit different from work. So I've clicked on that. And again, this is one that I've completed. But this one, its focus is on communication. It's not necessarily specific to housing. It simply lives in the housing vault activities. I prefer English. Pictures help me understand. How to reach me. Please contact me by text. Don't call me, sort of thing. Or I prefer only phone calls. I like to joke to communicate. If I'm sad, I might cry. If I'm angry, I might get loud. And how to help me. Let me vent. Help me write down my ideas. Again, not for those specifically with a disability, but can you imagine coming to the table for an annual meeting or meeting someone that you're supporting for the first time, and they or another, they themselves or with the support of another support team member have completed this? What a positive introduction. What a meaningful and effective way to start out the relationship and create meaningful support for that person in a way that makes sense for them. So I encourage, please go click around in here. You do need to create a Vault account to do that. If you have questions, if you would like to explore them further, please don't hesitate to chat with us. We're online up at the top. I believe even, yep, right there on the bottom, call, chat, or email the hub Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5, with the exception of federal holidays like Independence Day coming up next Tuesday. We will be closed, but chat give us a phone call, email us. If the fireworks are going off in your head on the 4th and you're so excited about something as you've been exploring this, please feel free to email us outside of those regular business hours, and we will get back to you within 2 business days, much like that benefits lookup. So I want to make sure, thank you to Bisa for dropping that that survey in there. We would appreciate any comments. It helps us as an agency determine how we can better improve. It helps me set my goals as a presenter, is how best to support you and what information you need or what works best for you in receiving information. And thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you so much, Marcy. You do such a great job at presenting and just so informative. I really appreciate that. And yeah, like Marcy said in our chat, I did just drop a survey in there to help get some feedback. And if you do have questions, you can reach out to us on Facebook. We check that, but ultimately it's really good. You can call Disability Hub MN at 1-866-333-2466, or you can go onto our website, check out MyVault, and there is a chat feature on there. So you can just go ahead through our website, you can chat with us. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us today. And thank you to our ASL interpreters and our closed captioning, our CART services. And thank you to everyone. And I hope people have a great 4th of July weekend and or a good holiday weekend if you don't celebrate the 4th. So thank you all for joining us, and take care.